National Financial Committee member for Harris, Lindy Li. Wonderful to have you here, Lindy. You know, we saw Vice President Harris answer a tough question during her most recent interview about what her message is to voters who say they were better off economically during the Trump administration. Her answer, to paraphrase a bit, was that the Biden administration had to recover from the COVID pandemic, and she pointed to that as a reason why some of these more aggressive policies she's proposed haven't been on the table as of yet. Do you think that argument is strong enough to convince undecided voters at this hour?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I also want to point out that the supply chain disruptions that didn't just affect the United States, it affected countries around the world. So the price hikes that we experienced were suffered by people around the world, and America has recovered faster and stronger than any nation on earth. Inflation is now underneath 3%, which is just phenomenal. And yes, prices are still too high. The cumulative inflation over the past couple of years is still causing immense suffering, and Kamala Harris knows that. She comes from the middle class. She knows the pain herself. So she's unrolling proposals like the child tax credit, for instance, which will help Americans build families. And she talked about how she brought down pharmaceutical costs along with President Biden, capping insulin at $35. So these are just a few examples of the many policies that she'll be espousing as president, not to mention the bipartisan infrastructure bill that they were able to get done, which resulted in a huge boom in manufacturing jobs around the country.
Let's talk about some of these policies specifically, because, you know, we've heard the vice president say multiple times how she's interested in bolstering the middle class with what she calls an opportunity economy. And now we haven't heard too many specifics, but the few we have heard have been met with some intense criticism, including providing $25,000 to eligible first-time home buyers. Some policy analysts say this plan will boost the demand of homes without increasing supply and produce little benefit while costing taxpayers really a lot of money. So how does she answer those critiques? And do you see her plans evolving in the future?
Absolutely. This is a ongoing process, and she knows better than Donald Trump that housing is one of the most important issues facing Americans today. We have a tremendous housing shortage that must be solved. And we have these private equity companies just buying and renting properties en masse, jacking up prices for the rest of Americans. So something must be done. And that's what she's doing right now. And she's also going to invest in the building of more housing units around the country in order to bring down renting costs and buying costs as well. And as a homeowner myself, I completely understand the pain that a lot of Americans are facing around the country. And the fact that she is someone who comes from the middle class, she is someone who worked at McDonald's to pay her way through school. She is much closer to the everyday Americans than Trump will ever be, who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth.
You know, the pushback from the other side to the arguments that you're making is that economically the policies, the math doesn't work. So how does she maybe curtail some of these ideas, or what is her message to those who say this policy doesn't have the intended outcome?
I think the legislation goes through the meat grinder. It's never going to be the way that the White House formulates it. It goes through Congress. It has to have bipartisan input as well. And the fact that she's putting out a policy at all, instead of engaging in a campaign of vengeance and rage, which is what Trump is doing, the fact that she's showing that she wants to do something about it, the fact that she's showing that it's a priority for her, I think is a fantastic step. And she's going to be rolling out even more of these proposals over the coming days. And let's talk about the price gouging as well. She's identified that as a top pressing issue facing Americans. Companies are engaging in greedflation. It's not just inflation. There's also shrinkflation. Companies are exploiting the supply chain issues as well as the pandemic in order to jack up prices unfairly for the American people. And what she's doing is trying to place the responsibility where it belongs, at the feet of the corporations.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.